Welcome to another edition of the NCBI Podcast. I'm June Tinsley, Head of Communications and Advocacy with NCBI, and this is our first edition of 2022, and I'm delighted to be joined by Clare Cassidy, who is based in County Clare. So welcome, Clare, and thanks for taking the time to have a chat with us.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you, June, and to everyone at NCBI and to our service users as well. And I hope that 2022 is a better year.
Fingers crossed everybody stays happy and healthy and safe throughout 2022. But I suppose just to kick off the chat, Clare, if you wouldn't mind telling our listeners just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Clare Cassidy. I'm a service user and I'm based in Ennis, County Clare. Um, I'm 46 years of age. I was born fully sighted. Um, love swimming, culinary arts, music. Um, Trained as a chef. I love the theatre, and I have travelled extensively around the world. Trained in the UK as a chef in culinary arts, and I'm one of six children. I'm the youngest of six children, and I have many nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews. And when I was 33, I drove a car, did all that up until I was 40. In my 33rd year, I discovered on the 1st of December of 2008 into 2009 that I had a problem with my right eye. And they kept telling me, oh, it's your sinusitis or it's a detached retina and you've had a stroke and it's all your own fault. And I decided to keep at this at Limerick Regional Hospital and met a lovely ophthalmologist there, Dr. Icky O'Dwyer, and that is almost 13 years ago, actually, this month, since I was diagnosed with the sight loss. Moved in to Limerick Regional Hospital on Actually, today is what date is today, June? Today is the
13th of January.
13th of January. I was actually an inpatient right up until the 13th of February 2009 until they got to the bottom of it. And it was a rare condition in my right eye where the nerve endings in English, not in medical terms, or shot. It was,
Okay.
why I describe it is it's like a worm that ate down to the core of the apple. It ate into the core of my eye. So the ability to be able to see properly out of my right eye wasn't as good to be able to read. I was able to see light and things. And they diagnosed that it's like if you have diabetes, but I didn't have diabetes. I was one of 3% in the world that had this condition at my age, and I wasn't old either. And 7 years went by, and when I turned 40, it spread into my left eye. And when I turned 40, within a few weeks, I had to give up what I knew best, my driving. That was a shock. Did I understand what was going on in the first couple of years? No, because I was in denial. Because when you're in the hospital, when you come out, you're like, oh my God. I was very lucky to have my mother that was a medical profession and a very good friend, a doctor that were able to talk to me and explain to me what was going on. And sometimes my mum came in and sat down in the doctor's office with me. I got a very good relationship with my ophthalmologist. I can be a public or a private patient, but she sees me publicly when I come in. I'm a private patient. When I'm in the public domain in the hospital, I know when she's actually on because I had awful problems with the doctors at this time of the year and again in June where they'd say, "Oh, yeah, we don't understand your condition," and I had to sit down with the ophthalmologist and I was crying and I just said to her, it's it's stressful when I've no idea what the condition is and where the condition will leave me. So I need to talk to someone that knows what they're doing.
Yes.
And she said, yes, you will see me and me only. And time went on and I learned to deal with it in my own way. My my I just think that you just have to be positive. And being one of six children, I'm very lucky because I have older brothers and sisters. So how do you tell them you don't? So you just, that's me in a nutshell.
And tell me, Claire, in terms of, obviously, as you mentioned, you were working as a chef and very passionate about that as a career. How has that changed so significantly, uh, given the condition you're living with?
You can't, you chefs are known to be hot-headed, and you have to be determined. For me, chefing was, it was the perfect career for me to go into in many levels. One of the reasons is it's a very touch for someone that, if you have a learning disability like reading, it's something that you remember things. You have a photographic memory, you remember recipes, you remember everything. So when I lost my sight, I couldn't go into a professional kitchen. I had set up my own business at home. I was making cakes. I was doing funeral parties, christenings, all that sort of stuff from home. And I also worked as a carer. And my job was very passionate. And the one thing that stood to me when I lost my sight was my temperament as a chef.
Right.
I could feel, I wasn't one of these that would swear or shout and roar. I would go in on myself. So I noticed that I was a strong person, and the chefing really came out. I cleared my family out of the kitchen one morning. I wanted to, I find cooking very therapeutic. And I cleared my brother and my mother out of the kitchen. I just said, just get out. And I pulled the kitchen apart, and I learned the skills. It, you have independent living skills with the guide dogs. And I went
Yes.
to that, and I walked away because I was disgusted with what they were teaching me. So I said, I can teach this to myself because I'm a qualified chef. I spent 4 years in training college in Birmingham. I trained at the highest level. I worked in very, very bad hotels, right up to five-star hotels. And I had the training within myself to train, and I just got out my knives and I remembered my training, and I trained myself how to cook. I trained myself the dangers around a cooker, around the oven. I taught myself how to use my own cooker. Everything that you do in your own kitchen, nobody can teach you how to do it. You have to do it yourself and have the confidence within your own area to be able to do it. Even making a cup of coffee, it's feeling the cup, having the perfect utensil, weighing out your product that you want to do. I don't use a weighing scales anymore. I have my own way of doing things. If I'm making a porter cake or something, yeah, there are talking weighing scales, but I have a very old weighing scales that actually have large numbers where I can actually see the pound, the 2 pound, the 3 pound. So that's good for me. The smaller ones are a lot smaller, but there are talking devices, and there are devices that you can actually link into your phone, that your phone will act as a weighing scale for you.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and they're, the products are to Europe, but you can get them on Amazon, and the NCBI office is actually good for the weighing scales and things like that. But what I would suggest is, if you're determined to succeed within the kitchen, you can source. Just get your pricing. Sometimes a cheaper thing would be better, because um, you might just pick it up in different places. I know I found things that work for me. Bright colored spoons were one thing. You can get. I found it. I think it was in Lidl, a weighing scale that talked to me, and it was only €5. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to have devices, because if you're spending 40, €50 on a weighing scale, that weighing scale only has a lifeline of 5 to 10 years. So has a €5 one. So if you can source them, um, and the NCBI has a lot of the things that we need as well. And if they don't, they'll help you source as well.
True, true. And
Yeah.
I suppose, as you say, you've been connected with the NCBI and have availed of some of the products. Is there if you could name some of the services that you've availed with over the years, that you've found beneficial?
I think the first time I was introduced to the NCBI, I was overwhelmed in 2000. 2010 was the first time I was referred into the NCBI, into the Limerick office, the Midwest region office. And I think the first thing I did was the walking around with my sight to be able to walk independently without using a cane or anything like that. Um, and I met with the girls in the office and embraced technology. I think was the first thing I ever did with them was technology, and then went from there. I think in about 2014, I got my first cane from them. That was a simple cane, and then I went to the long cane after that. Um, I've done a few things. I've done independent living skills with them, cane training. The biggest thing, and I've been involved now in the last year with, it's a project that we have done, is the check-in and chat, and that mentally has been brilliant because your mental health suffers a lot. So you meet with people all over the country, Donegal, across to Dublin, down to Kerry, right across the four corners of the country, is actually linked up people from all over that you'd have never met. And if you've any problems, you just link in with them. I found that the NCBI have been quite good in lots of ways for me. To be able to have independence with trains and buses, to be able to get out. I travel quite a bit on the train, so I'd have I'd have no problem with that. But it's, yeah, that would be that's where I am with the NCBI. That's a project that I've taken on with them, along with Paddy and many others that have that help out on it on a weekly basis. And we have two new recruits recently, and we're looking for more all the time to host on our chicken and chat. So if you'd like to come along, it's on a Thursday, and it's you can talk about everything and anything. The NCBI facilitates this for us. They have the Zoom account, and emails are sent out, and then on the day it's 11 to 1 o'clock, and you just pop in, you get the email, press on the link, and you go into your Zoom account, and there are people. You can have anything from 8 to the most we've had on it is 16 people, and we just talk about everything and anything. And if you've anything that's bothering you, or you've been diagnosed with something, or you're new to sight class, whether you've been born with sight class, there's a mixture of people in the group.
I think that's the benefit of it, Claire, as you rightly say.
Yeah,
It's that kind of informal friendship, and
yeah,
just bouncing ideas off each other, or just admitting, listen, I'm having a difficult time doing X or Y. Any advice or tips or what to think? And it's providing that kind of, as I said, informal friendships, and that's such a valuable part to it. And as you rightly say, individuals are free to join the check-in and chat. It happens on a weekly basis, on a Thursday morning. And Claire, on a separate note, you mentioned there about your passion for swimming, and
yeah.
I'm just curious of how you've had to adapt that passion for swimming since the onset of your sight loss.
Um, I learned to swim when I've no recollection of learning to swim. I always think that my father, Lord rest his soul, brought me in when I was 4 days old. I reckon he threw me into the water. I've been swimming ever since. To me, swimming is everything. I swim in open water, and I swim locally here in Ennis, I swim in our local swimming pool. To me, my mental health wouldn't be my mental health suffered when I lost my sight. So um life has ended. When I got my diagnosis, it has ended. So how do I tell people? And I found that when I broke down that and I told people, no, you're diagnosed, there's nothing wrong with your sight. Our pool is 25 meters long. It's 12 and a half meters with there's, I think, 6 to 7 lanes within our pool. It's one of the brightest pools that I have swam in. It has 95% natural light coming into the actual pool area. And
Right.
when I put my head down under the water, I had to teach myself how to swim, how to actually navigate from one end of the pool, go in a straight line, up and down, up and down. And you have a line at either side of you when you get into the lane. You have to watch out for people swimming on their backs, because I think that we should have been born with eyes in the back of our eyes. Our parents, our mothers used to tell us that they had eyes in the backs of their heads. I don't know. And now when I teach swimming, I always tell the kids I have eyes in the back of my head, but they don't work very well. But you teach yourself, and you feel more positive when you like the last 2 weeks now, I've actually been not been able to swim because I got COVID, and I went back. I'm going back now today for my first swim, and I'm just getting excited because it's exercise, and your mind just frees up when you go into the water. I can't explain the feeling you get. I'm glad I learned to swim as a child. You're focused. You look like you're a fully sighted person when you swim. Nobody takes any notice of your disability. I have a disability, but I have an ability to swim. I I have taught people. I'm going back to teach, hopefully this year, with the help of the NCBI through Sports Vision, and Swim Ireland, to be able to teach as a visually impaired person. And
Brilliant.
that has been um, something through COVID that I never thought. COVID hit me badly because the fact that you couldn't go out, the winters were long. You had to mind what you were doing, and the pools, everything closed. So this time last year, I was like, I got an email from NCBI asking me what I'd like to. I think it was what sort of work I'd like to do now. Jesus, I don't want to sit behind a desk. I'm not a pin pusher. I'm used to flying around in the kitchen and in the pool. So can I go back to my swimming? And I picked up the phone and I spoke to the lads in Sports Vision, and in the last couple of months, Swim Ireland have been, and just got an email before Christmas from them, and I'm amazed that if you have a good ability to do whatever your mind sets. For me, it's swimming. I'm passionate about my swimming, um, and people tell me, "Are you sure you're blind?" And I'd say, "I'm not blind. I'm visually impaired, but." Um, and I have to really focus in. And the little bit of sight I have, but after an hour of teaching, physically teaching somebody, I would feel tired, but I would come out going, "Wow, I've just taught someone how to swim." So I'm giving
It's a
my
huge
passion.
accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a huge compliment. And once they know, remember earlier on in my sight loss, and I used to go in every day teaching, and I was still driving and teaching, and I gave up my teaching because my sight got so bad. But I had one particular child. His name was Michael. He's now an adult, and I said, "Michael, I have bad news to tell you. I'm losing my sight. I might go blind." And he went very quiet. He was a lovely child. He was one of the nicest kids you could ever teach. And he said, no, he says, "You'll never lose your sight because you won't be able to see my cheeky smile." And I smiled and I laughed, and because I had told his dad before, and he said, "How did you get?" Michael's, "She's losing her sight, but she can't because she won't be able to see how good looking I am."
Isn't that gorgeous?
And now he's 19, and his dad, I met him recently, and during COVID, he is based in Galway, in college in Galway, and they used to go out swimming in Salt Hill, and he said to his dad, "Oh my God, Claire gave me a gift of life." And that's what swimming is. It's a gift for life.
That was not a fabulous thing to say. Well, I'm sure many people will benefit from you being back teaching
Yeah,
swimming in 2022, and best of luck with that. I think that sounds fabulous. And isn't
unfortunately,
it fair to
unfortunately,
say that quite recently, Claire, you've been a bit of uh, what's the word, a celebrity down in County Clare by virtue of the article you did in Clare Champion?
I was a celebrity just before that. In August this year, I did a walkabout in the Hinch, and with our local Clare FM and our local radio station.
Yes.
So I started off with the presenter on Morning Focus, and that went very well. Sorry, I'm still, if my voice goes and comes, I'm still getting over COVID. So my voice isn't very strong. And we did a walkabout. The interview was in total an hour and a half, but it was a half an hour on the radio. And the feedback I got was something else. People that recognized me and didn't realize what the cane was, or how, small little things about getting around, as small as someone's car or van being parked too close or hanging over a white line with a tow bar, and
Right.
little things like that. Then I went on then to do the Clare Champion, and that helped because the there was the Ennis railway station had a hole that I would go across. It was a path, so I was able to highlight that in a photograph when they took it, and I got great response from people in the area, right through County Clare and in Limerick and in Galway that read the article. They told me how amazing the article was, and fully sighted people. And I hope that TDs and local politicians read it, because the fact that there are rules out there and regulations that people don't abide by. So if they can see what's written in my article and follow up on it and implement the laws that are there, it would make people in our position a lot easier to get around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in a nutshell, the article is really just highlighting the need for um, greater awareness, public awareness of the daily challenges that either potholes or temporary obstacles present to people who are blind or vision impaired, and how just a bit more um, either common sense or just a bit of acknowledgement and understanding can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I noticed one of the biggest things during COVID, one of the biggest obstacles, because I walk a lot, and I found it got worse. It was during COVID, eh, in and around the schools. Before COVID, kids would just come out and they'd fly out, and yeah, you were fine because it was grand. Now the parents are congregating outside the school, and the path I counted there before Christmas, the Wednesday before they broke up, it was 8 deep on the footpath
Okay.
of parents standing outside the school. And I find myself now shouting and saying, "Excuse me, blindly passing," and the kids are brilliant, because the kids look up and smile and they'd say, "Ma'am, you shouldn't be standing there. You're blocking the path." And one child
Fair play
looked
to
up,
them.
and you're the very person, maybe, that will give out if there's somebody blocking your way with the buggy. And I just laughed and I smiled, because that's how you feel. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, and if a child can tell their parent, the parent was like, and I just turned around and I said, "The child is right." And
Fair
I
play to
smiled, and
you.
the child gave, and I could feel the hand going up, and he gave me two thumbs to, like, and the parent said, "I'm very sorry." And every time she sees me now, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry," and she'll pull the buggy in for me, because we all have our own routine when we're walking. We
Yes.
we will stick to one side of the path, and you stick, and when you know your area, like, you have people shout at you, "Why don't you cross the road? The path there gets narrow." But that's the side of the road that you're used to, so you stick to that side. And there are benefits from knowing your route and where you're going, because sometimes they'll say, "Cross the." I'm like, my sister said it to me one time, where I live, the near me, the path narrows, very narrows, and I said, "Why should I cross the road? I'll have to cross again. It's a main thoroughfare." So, um, and her husband, and I said, "Yeah." He said to me, "But we saw you doing this." I said, "Yeah," and she wants me to cross the road. there's hidden dips and everything. And I'm like, no, I'll stick to the side. I know, even if I'm posting a letter, if I have to go a bit further to post a letter, I will, because there's a post box on the road. But if I want to cross to it, there's a hidden dip. So I'm better off going for my
Exactly.
walk, bringing my letter with me, and going to the further away post box.
Yeah, I know that makes understandable. So you still feel confident getting out and about.
Yeah.
And lastly, Claire, just the one question that I ask all my guests is, what one piece of advice would you give to another person who's been recently diagnosed with a sight loss condition?
Your your mental health will suffer no matter how strong you are. Don't be hard on yourself. And when you feel free, when you feel the time is right to open up to yourself, you will. And it takes a long time. I'm still 13 years later, I'm still coming to terms with my sight loss on a daily basis. And it doesn't define who you are. And it is one of the, I was thinking about this yesterday because June had sent me out the questions. And I always think to myself, people say, oh, it's the hardest thing to lose is your eyes. No matter what in life it throws at you, whether it's your arms, your legs, cancer, whatever it is, for me it's my eyesight. And that's the cross that I have to carry. And it doesn't define who you are. There, you mightn't be the same person when you lose your sight, and determination helps. And don't lose the sight of who you are. And like I often say to people, like any chance of having this might sound funny, but it's my sense of humor. Any chance of having a game of table tennis, I'll take out my eyes just to see will they work, and then I'll put them back in. Yeah, and that's, it's you can, like, the day I did the radio interview with Clare FM, and it was a beautiful, glorious day in Lahinch, and I said to the presenter, and it's a beautiful day here in Lahinch, and I'm blessed to have a fine looking man. And he looked at me and he said, you're definitely blind. I said, no, you've heard of the expression, it's in the eye of the beholder. And he burst out laughing. And that was recorded. And that's my sense of humor.
Yeah.
And if you'll find your way of coping, and you'll have your own way of dealing with your sight loss, and never give up. And if there
Wise
is,
words indeed.
yeah, never give up. And like my swimming and my chefing, there are times where the light does fail me, and I describe my my condition as Cinderella Syndrome. You know the story of Cinderella. At midnight, she turns into a pumpkin.
Yes.
If I'm not back indoors when it gets dark, I turn into a pumpkin. So you immerse yourself in the things that you want, that you enjoy, whether it's cinema. Things are improving all the time. So um, you embrace yourself in something new. If you do one thing a week that kills you, it makes you a stronger person.
True. 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 Very wise words indeed. But listen, Claire, I'd just like to say a big thank you for coming on and having a chat with me today. And I'm sure our paths will cross many times throughout 2022. Again, just to our listeners, to extend the invitation to have a join the check-in and chat,
Yeah.
which happens weekly. Claire is an active member on it. Details are on our NCBI website. And if, as always, if any listener is interested in accessing any of our services, the easiest way is to go on our website, ncbi.ie, or call the info line 1800 911 250.
And
But
there
for
is
now, Claire,
one
sorry,
thing I
Claire.
would like to say before we finish is
Sure.
COVID. COVID for me in the last nearly 2 years has broken my spirit in lots of ways. But don't don't let it don't let people put you off, because the fact is our vision, or when we can't see. So um but I'll finish with this quick story. I was diagnosed recently with COVID, and I didn't know I was a close contact, so I was doing the close contact thing. So I went out for a walk, and I was on the white part of the footpath, and I got, God bless you, God bless you, God bless you. And I realized, and with that, my cane, because I've got used to COVID, I can't remember which hand I had my cane in, but say it was my left, and I extended my left hand with my cane. If anyone saw me or heard me, they thought I was going to beat up the priest, and I heard myself saying, Father Conway, keep your distance. And I'm shaking my cane at him. There a few days later, one of my neighbours I met, I had just come out of lockdown, and she said, "What were you doing to Father Conway with your stick?" And I said, I was out for the one." I explained to her. She got into a fit of laughing. She said, "And the same fucking ficker doesn't understand social distancing. So use your stick for your social distancing, because it actually is brilliant, because it actually is over your 2 meters, but it actually gives you that feel that somebody is not in your space. So don't let COVID beat you either."
Again, I mean, while it's a funny story, there's a practical element to it there,
Yeah,
that anyone who's a cane user can rightly use that as a comfort to gauge
back
the
off.
2 meters distance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's my thing in COVID. I tell people back off, because I'm actually, although I'm good at my social distancing, I what's the word when you can't feel the depth of the person, but you can feel the person if you're too close. So it's the cane is brilliant for that. So, and don't feel frightened. If you want to say back off, keep your distance, because people will.
Exactly, exactly.
And happy New Year all to you all, and thanks, June, for inviting me onto this. And I'm hope that anyone that listens, that they have picked up something.
I'm sure they will have, Claire. Listen, for now, thanks a million, Claire. I'll let you go, and I'm sure I shall talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, bye.